live with Steve, MMA Minute. I don't do proper, introductions, but how are you? Because I haven't asked you previously.
I'm good. We're dealing with a little winter storm here in my neck of the woods, but I have the day off, so I can't complain.
Martin Luther King Day.
Yes, I have the whole day off, but it's funny. Like when you're in content creation, a day off is actually not a day off, right? You know it.
Absolutely. All the spare time in the world you need. I mean, I organise my day so specifically every day, especially for this week. I'm busy every day doing something. So,
well, it's a good time because we are officially back. That was the first event in a month?
I think so. At least 3.5 weeks, isn't it? And it's not just like UFC; it was all MMA. So it was just grappling tournaments and a couple Thai boxing events were on, but nothing else. So it was. I want to say a weak card on paper. 10 pullouts of the 11 fights over the last however long, which is mental. You've had nearly as many pullouts as there are fights on the card, and I'm going to say the late replacements in Kevin Kroom and Rosa did not deliver at all. I thought it was a very underwhelming prelims, but the highlight for me being Brian Kelleher.
Yeah, that I jumped on that one as soon as his, and I'm sorry because in my old podcast we loved Glory MMA. We talked to a whole bunch of those guys, including Kevin Kroom, who we interviewed. But after his last performance against Alex Caceres, where he immediately gassed in the first 3 minutes, I jumped on Kelleher so hard on all the parlays.
Yeah. I backed him on Aaron the Dog's podcast as well. But obviously, when we were doing the picks, Kevin was not the fighter at the time. It was, I'm never going to be able to pronounce his name, but he's like Azbakistani guy.
Yes, yep.
You know the guy, Sakomed or something. I can't do his name, especially off the top of my head. But yeah, I was all over Brian Kelleher on that fight. I think he's a very underappreciated mixed martial artist, especially in this division. I think he's fought some of the best guys in it, and he went to war with Cody Stamann, if you remember. And Cody's being talked, he's in the top 10 now, I think, or he's around the 10 mark. And so Brian, to me, is like around the 10 to 15 mark. And anyone thinking on 2 or 3 days' notice they're going to beat him is mental to me. So I think Brian went from a slight underdog in the original matchup to a heavy favourite on the night, especially on my betting odds anyway. I don't know about the US ones.
Oh, yeah. He came in immediately. It was 3-1 favorite on his end. And it made sense. Kroom did look pretty good. He was missing in the takedowns. Yeah. And what was his reach advantage? He had 8 inches on Kelleher. But as soon as Kelleher cuts distance, he lands big shots. He can go to the ground. He had no problem in that fight at all.
Yeah, Kelleher to me is the same as a John Lineker or a John Dodson or someone like that. Small, stocky, super powerful, really good wrestler. And those guys you just don't want to mess with, especially on short notice, because he's so well drilled that I don't see why the matchup. They only matched him up to save the card. That's it. Otherwise, it would have been, if they couldn't do the replacements, his card would have had about 4 fights on it.
Shout out to all those guys. The short replacements, that's no easy joke. But that definitely played into why the prelims started out with 5 decisions in a row. There wasn't really much going on. I don't think many of them were really that close. It seemed like they're all pretty one-sided. I guess the Pickett Holmes fight seemed like that was kind of back and forth for a little bit, but then it slowed down. Algeo, people kind of counted him out. I'm kind of a fan of Bill Algeo. He's a scrapper. He's a scrapper.
I was really, we could talk about that fight actually, because we were chatting on during the fight. Bill Algeo to me is a very underwhelming fighter. And throughout the whole thing, I'm going to say, heavily convinced that Joanderson Brito was going to run through him. Because there's one thing about Bill Algeo is he's a really late fighter. He fights a 3rd round like you should in the 1st round. He's he's a 5-round fighter in my opinion. But he's not big enough to get any 5-round kind of fights. So he needed to fight a 3rd round in the 1st, and he started in the 2nd, which was good. But I still scored it for Joe Anderson, even though they both looked shattered after 3 minutes.
Yes. No, definitely. I didn't really know much about Brito going into it, but I know a lot of people were on him in their picks from what I saw on social media and everything. But I always remember like the Bill Algeo fights, like with like Spike Carlisle. I think he like drops round 1 and then immediately 2 and 3.
Yeah.
He just keeps storming back, and he's huge. He's 6 feet at the 145 division. Like, he's a big dude.
Yeah. You reckon he's going to get his call out of Chikadze?
The dumbest call out. Was that the dumbest call out we've ever heard?
Yeah, it is now. Chikadze, even though he lost and he wasn't high ranked, I think he was like 8 at the time.
Yeah,
because I think Arnold Allen's 7 and he was behind him. So I don't see how he's not going to be fighting top 10 guys though anymore. Like, then there's no way. After the first round, you could see if you give Chikadze, or get into that, but if you can give him like any form of space, he's going to shut your lights off with the speed and the technicality of his strikes. And Kattar was like, none of that. But yeah, Bill Algeo did get the decision. Tough one. I mean, Brito's going to be really disappointed with himself in that one for gassing, because that was an easy fight for him, in my opinion. They couldn't have matched it with someone better, someone that's got experience in the UFC. It's a decent name, actually, especially he used to be the old champion of his other organization. It wasn't LFA, it was the other one, wasn't it? In America. I can't remember what it is, but he was the champ there, and it's just really disappointed. But one person I wasn't disappointed was Borishev.
Yes.
Versus Dakota Bush. Now, I love Borishev, especially his kickboxing days.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of Thai boxing fights, 200 kickboxing fights, I think it is. He's not that old. He looks great. He's a happy guy. He's really nice, speaks brilliant English. Like, you wouldn't think. He's got only a very slight accident, and now he's training at Team Alpha Male as their striking coach, but also as learning the full fundamentals of wrestling with them.
Yeah, that was a good fight. I really discounted Dakota Bush in that one. I think we talked about it earlier, but Dakota Bush did what he was supposed to do for the most part. In the beginning of the fight, you're going against the kickboxer with 200 plus fights. We've seen his hands. Like, you don't want to stand up with this guy. So Dakota Bush took it to the ground, and it worked for a little bit, but credit to Borishev. He got up, and that's the biggest thing we're seeing with a lot of these kickboxers. Like Alex Pereira came over, even like Israel Adesanya. It's like, how do these guys, perform when they're going to the ground? And we're seeing a lot of them actually doing really well on that side of the fight.
Yeah, I mean, Aaron here saying Slava Claus wins every fight that doesn't go to the mat.
Right.
I will say he did pass a miniature test, because Dakota Bush actually looked quite good coming out that first round. He took him down, he held him down, and he got up. He did manage to get up twice, actually. Wall walked one of them, and he used fundamentals to get up. So he's at the early stages of MMA career at the moment. The thing is, with people like him, where his striking is so elite, same as Israel at the start. Israel got very good favored opponents, like Wilkinson, for instance, at the first couple. That was his first fight, I think, in the UFC. Easiest fight he could ever had, introduce him into the organization. Dakota Bush is quite a hard test to me. I know he came through the Contender Series, but that to me is, as long as you're not afraid to be taken down, you're going to shine. You're going to be really good. As soon as you start worrying that people are going to take you down, your striking is going to suffer, and he needs to not do that. So I think he played it very well, because he got rocked on the feet as well by Bush, which was a shock. But then as soon as he comes back, lands that body shot, which apparently the whole arena could hear, or the arena, you know what I mean? The small little octagon, the 10 people outside, they could all hear the smack of the body shot, and he just dropped Dakota Bush, and you just saw the level of his striking. But he's super, I'm really looking forward to seeing Borishev more.
Yeah, and I think you did say a good thing there, because I was watching his Dana White Contender Series fight, and the hands, like, he's got unbelievable hands, but he does get hit. He in that fight, I forget who he was fighting last name might have been Tucker or something, but the guy landed a bunch of takedowns.
Gavin Tucker, Scottish guy.
Yeah, he looked pretty good against him. It looked like a pretty close fight, but no, Borishev for sure is someone to keep an eye on. And I thought it was funny. He gets his win. He does that little dance at the end.
Yeah,
big dancer. You gotta love those guys. Put on a show.
Super impressive to me. It was a quite a highlight on a pretty dull card. Like full finishes anyway. A lot of grindy decisions, a lot of yawning going on. And it's hard to complain, because we need mixed martial arts events back. But the first ones, I was really hoping that the main card wouldn't suffer. But the main card was actually really enjoyable. But the next one I want to talk about, because I slagged it off to Aaron on his show over and over again. as the two fat boys, which was
Oh,
Jake Collier
God.
and Chase Sherman. How this fight co-mained, I'm baffled. Jake Collier was shredded at middleweight. He's a fat, porky man, and his belly was moving at heavyweight. He looked absolutely trash bags against Tom Aspinall, and Tom obviously looked amazing, but he just got kneed in the belly, punched in the face, and he went down, like a bag of potatoes. Looks okay in his next couple fights, but in this fight, am I meant to think here that he looks phenomenal at heavyweight? Because Chase Sherman is shit. I think
He is.
he's 3-8 now in the UFC. If he doesn't he co-mained a UFC card, Chase Sherman. Get that into your head. Like, how? This guy is so crap. And he's... Oh, go on. You have a rank, because I will go on for hours about this guy.
No, you're totally right. Because I remember following Chase Sherman like a little bit, because outside of the UFC, so he had like his first stint with the UFC. Then he came to, I think he went to Island Fights and went on like a 3-fight or 4-fight win streak, like knocking everyone out. And I was like, oh wow, like maybe we've seen that happen before. And you go down a little bit in competition, get your confidence back up, and then you come into it.
Yep.
And we never saw it. He beat Ike Villanueva. I'm looking at that now. And I think that was his first fight back in the UFC in a long time. And then since then, it just has been bad. Real bad.
Really bad. Yeah. To me, Jake Collier, people said he looked really good. I don't think he did. I think he just beat a really bad fighter. I think if you put Jake Collier anywhere near a top 15 heavyweight, he's going to be closed out real quick.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. That's how bad. This is how bad Chase Sherman is. Chase Sherman will lose to Darren Till, and we all know how much Aaron hates Darren Till and thinks he's crap. So that's how bad he is. If he doesn't get cut, I'd be shocked. I would be shocked.
It's hard because I feel like the heavyweight division is so thin.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they could probably bring in anyone off the bench out there. But it's ridiculous that we had Royval and Bontarine, and they just didn't put that as the co-main.
Yeah.
Like what?
It's mental, isn't it? And that was a really good fight as well. I thought
Phenomenal fight.
Really enjoyable fight. A lot of grappling going in on that, and we thought Bontarine was going to come in. So, obviously, he's a grappler. What he did to Kattar, he just piggybacked him for 4 minutes and 50 seconds of the fight until he got one punch knocked out because he was gassed. But I thought he was doing really good against Royval, but he couldn't produce any damage.
That was the key. It's just not a consistent way to score things, because we've seen fights where a wrestler will go out there, get 5 minutes of control time, won't land the ground and pound, and they'll still end up winning, even though the other fighter landed the bigger blow. So it's a lack of consistency that kind of gets me. And because I personally scored it 29-28 Bontarine.
Okay.
I did.
I scored it 29-28 Royval based on damage.
Right.
Based on what they actually did in the fight. So it's so subjective. So
it is.
Then those sort of fights, you just need the global scorecard, don't you? You need Verdict to step in.
I love those. Those are always fun to see where people are at. But did you see the tap?
I thought for a second there was to the armbar.
That went viral afterwards. It's just like that 3-second clip. I think, it was Royval has like the armbar locked. He tapped.
You think
he gave a tap. He made an effort to put his hand up over, and he gave one tap. It was one single tap.
Yeah. There's a thing in jiu-jitsu classes called the Brazilian tap. A normal tap is just tap. A Brazilian tap is that.
But like you can't do that. Like,
you quit, but you don't want to let people know you quit.
I feel like that can't be allowed. Like you need at least 2 taps, because then anyone can just be like, no. It was like involuntary action. Involuntary movement.
That's happened previously as well, loads of times in the past. So no, I think Royval deserved to win. Personally, I thought Bontarine has a real big future in this division. Though I think he's way too big for that weight class. I think he should be upper weight.
He's strong. Sure. He's very really strong. Oh, you saw the way Royval's a great grappler. Bontarine was putting him on his ass nonstop.
Yeah,
he is a strong guy.
Yeah, literally just not even like a judoka's throw, a Taitoshi trip or anything like that. He literally just body locked him and slammed him.
Yep.
Just effortlessly, like a dad ragdolling his child.
Right.
That's all it was.
And, credit to Royval. He was the one who had the submission attempts. So you could even credit that to him as well. That's more of an offensive attack that he had that Bontarine didn't have. Plus, he was landing more bigger shots. So I can see Royval, and I had him. I bet him. I'm not going to lie. But I felt Bontarine winning that fight.
Yeah. Who do you think Royval should fight next?
Oh, man. I'm going to look at the rankings real quick.
So you've got Askar Askarov and Kai Kara fighting, but you've got Alex Perez at 4. You've got Nicolau at 8. Matt Schnell is in there still. Dovrak. The list towards above Bontarine, like Nicolau, Schnell, Dovrak, Albazi, Elliott, Manuel Cup is in there.
Yep.
I think he's a great one for the future as well. Portuguese guy. He I don't see how any of those can help Brandon at all. I think he needs to be looking at someone like Pantoja or Perez again.
See, that's the problem. His last, they loved him. They loved Brandon Royval because he came in immediately, subbed Tim Elliott, the war with Kai Kara France. They wanted to push this guy, and they've done that. And now, his last 3 is Bontarine, Pantoja, Moreno. He's now looking top 5 up at this point, which is tough, So I guess Alex Perez would be a good name, who I don't think has an opponent right now. Or does he?
Off the top of my head, I don't know. I haven't got any fight announcements on my save.
He's fighting Matt Schnell, February 12th.
So he's fighting someone all the way down in 9th.
Yep.
So Brandon might have to do that if he wants a fight, because otherwise Pantoja is going to be, it's something like that again. But why would Pantoja take that fight? He's looking for the title now. So
Pantoja's looking title.
He's next in line after whoever wins at 2-7 next week.
I think Askarov probably takes it and then gets the title shot.
You reckon?
That's what I'm thinking. Just because of the style between Askarov and Kai Kara France. I mean, obviously, if it stays on the feet, Kara France is probably heavily favored, but Askarov is just going to machine, takedown. That's going to be tough.
Yeah. And he's no joke standing either. He's got some moves.
He's good,
Yeah, he's not bad. He's a really odd fighter for the weight class. You never expect these Russian guys to be that low. But they're in every weight class. They're in every one.
Isn't he deaf too?
Yeah, he is.
I think he's deaf.
Yeah. He's brilliant. What a man.
I know. Yeah, no, like you said, every division has that type of fighter. They're tough, man. I don't like it. It scares me.
What do you make of Tax's death and Kattar and Chikadze by decision?
I was on Kattar and Chikadze by decision. My only concern was that Jennifer Maia was getting a smaller octagon, and I thought she was going to pressure wrestle more. But it was Chikadze who had some of the takedowns and was just doing the most classic Chikadze things out there. She every fight, every win you've seen is the same win over and over and over, every time.
Yeah,
it's incredible.
It's exactly the same. There's no damage inflicted. I think Aaron was telling me earlier, it's there's no threat. You're not afraid to get hit by her because she just outpoints you every time. Yeah, there you go.
It is
easiest bet of the year. Absolutely. If she's fighting anyone but Valentina, a Caitlin decision is a very good bet to have. But if she fights Valentina, she's getting finished.
Exactly. Speaks volumes to the women's division because Chikadze is the number 2, right?
She's out of contract now. She's now a free agent.
Interesting.
Yeah. So she wants to stay, obviously. But I personally, if I was Caitlin, I would. I mean, she's got all the self-confidence in the world, so she thinks she can beat Valentina. I would go to PFL or Bellator or win a belt, make your name, get some more money, because I guarantee she can make more money over in those organizations as well, and she can be the number 1.
Yeah, I mean, she just took out Maya, who's 4. Vivian Arujo, she took her out before that, I believe. She was number 6.
Yep.
Jessica Andrade, they've already fought Shevchenko. They've already fought Lauren Murphy. We're just getting repeat fights. It's the same old thing. It's a dead end stop. I would definitely consider leaving.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, PFL is the move. Become a millionaire. Exactly. What?
Why not?
It's the move. You also make money per fight. You make
in addition to the million if you win.
Mm-hmm. Yep. The million is the
Easy.
bonus essentially. So it's minimal. Obviously, it's like minimum wage. It's just to get you through the camps though and pay your people throughout the year. Because obviously, if you don't win the million, are you saying you're doing all the fights for free? No, you do get paid per fight. So
Right.
but you also get
That's
sponsorship
easy.
money and all the extra stuff you don't get in the UFC at the moment.
Yeah, and on the flip side, Jennifer Maia, I just don't see it. The fact that she was even fighting for a belt, come on.
Yeah, I mean,
She's just not that talented.
Future of that division for me is Talia Santos. I think she's brilliant. There's not many, maybe Arujo as well, but all the people that used to challenge Shevchenko, she's still at the top. And you've got people like Andrade, who he's always going to be there, but she's got no chance in beating Shevchenko to me. Not a chance. You've got
all the exciting fighters are at the bottom, like Casey O'Neill, Manon Farrow. She looks great. Alexa Grasso has been looking really good. So I think the bottom of division is where it's at.
Yeah, he's Aaron Gillian there, Gillian Robertson.
Of course, Gillian.
But they're so low down, it's going to take years for them to still even get back there unless they beat someone really high up and show that there's only me left to fight now. Because the way these female rankings worked is really bananas. It's really silly because Joanne Wood has lost how many fights now? She's still ranked 7. How? She shouldn't be near the top 10. I love her to bits, but she shouldn't be anywhere near her. So, yeah, it's saying Arujo is 135. Well, yeah. But she's in the 125 division as well. Arujo, she's ranked in that.
She's ranked at least, yeah. That.
Yeah. But yeah, so I don't personally like Chikadze staying. For her, I think the best thing for her would be to move on. Especially if the UFC haven't renewed your contract by your last fight.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of tells you something, doesn't it? Like, it's a bit worrying.
Yeah, they don't want Chikadze versus Shevchenko again. They don't want. That's not going to sell. That sells nothing.
Yeah. Oh, he's saying she's 35 years old.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, well, they're all old actually. Laura Murphy's like 38. You got Joe Woods in her 30s. You got everyone's in their 30s. I think in that division.
Jessica Ai, Caitlin, Calvillo, Roxanne.
Oh, yeah, Modafferi. Yeah, she's 55 years old.
Still at number 12 though.
No, but all right, let's talk about the main thing.
Let's get into it.
And Aaron will give me all the credit in the world, I hope, for this, because on his show, the amount of people on my YouTube video that told me I was batshit mad for saying Giga is going to lose. I think I wouldn't say a complete hype train because he has shown a lot of skills, but he's beaten a compromised Barboza, an old Cub Swanson. And then the last knockout before that, they had to bring him in from outside of the UFC. Then it's decision. And 2 of them are split and I thought he lost 2 of them. Against Brandon Davis was 1 as well. I thought Brandon Davis beat him. So he's clearly a skilled striker, but he is a completely one-dimensional fighter. And I just was completely blown away by the odds making Kattar the underdog in this. That blew my mind.
Yes.
And I'm so happy I was proved right, especially in the video when I said he's going to make it dirty and use elbows. And the one thing he used in the fight, he made it dirty and used elbows. What do you think of the fight in general?
No, it was it's so crazy. Right off the bat, you see how good Giga Chikadze is. Right off the bat. All the kicks he throws, all the strikes he throws have so much intention behind them. Any of those can end the fight. Calvin kind of just walked through that. And then the turning point, which was wild, was Giga slips. Yeah. From that moment forward, as soon as Calvin jumped on that, went for the takedown, that was it. Everything after that moment was all Calvin Kattar. And I'm not saying like that moment like was a fluke or lucky or anything, but that just happened to be like the turning point. Like as soon as that happened, it was no more Giga in control. It was Kattar. And that was like halfway through round 1.
90 seconds in.
Yeah.
90 seconds of Giga looking sharp.
So sharp.
But the thing is with Giga is like, okay, that's fine. You can get taken down and control for a few minutes. In comes round 2. Oh, you're gassed. Already gassed.
Already. 5
minutes. That's all he had in him. You came in for a main event 5-round fight against the guy that will give you a title shot if you win this. If you beat him in fantastic... If you finish a guy that has not even been dropped yet, that Max Holloway put 500 shots to him and couldn't drop him. If you knock him out, you are getting a title shot, especially with the hype behind him.
100%.
And you couldn't last more than 5 minutes. Like he absorbed so many shots. He looks like, Pinhead out of this. He's just got slices, a Texas
Oh,
Chainsaw
yeah.
Massacre kind of mask wearing. But yeah, exactly. Aaron and Kattar Holloway saying he needed to take a year off, and he did so. It was a huge key to the fight. Exactly. And we were saying it on your show as well, Aaron, that you weren't sure whether that's a good thing or a bad thing for him. He's still absorbed all those shots to the head. Is he still going to be there mentally? Is he compromised? Can he take a shot anymore? All this good stuff. He looked fine. Perfect. He looked great.
He did. And I was reading somewhere he was like no contact for like 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
Like he didn't get touched after that fight for like 6 months. And then he kind of slowly started getting back into it. So they took the recovery so seriously, and they had to, because had he lost this fight to Giga, he's probably out. He's probably out of the conversation. He's a little bit older. He needed to win this fight to stay relevant in the top 5. And man, he showed out. He showed out so good. The proof was in the pudding, because like you said, Giga, Dana White Contender Series, gets subbed in that, comes into the UFC, back-to-back split decisions, very close. Both of those guys mixed in takedowns. They dragged that fight out. The only thing that was confusing to me was in the Edson Barboza fight, he went into round 3, got the finish, and he looked fresh. So it was confusing to not be able to see him do that in this fight. He literally gassed after round 1 and he was done.
Yeah, I know for a fact Edson Barboza had one of the worst weight cuts he's ever had for that fight.
Okay.
So I don't think he could take a shot, and he still went 3 rounds and hurt Giga in that fight. So can you see Giga beating anybody in the top 5 of this division after that performance?
No.
Everybody can grapple in the top 5.
Yeah, I think, like Ortega, that's going to be a big problem for him.
Kate is the worst grappler by a mile. He
exactly.
just jiu-jitsu.
He's not a grappler. He's a wrestler, if anything.
And he took his back.
He took his back. Oh, he was lost. Giga was lost. And that's the whole thing about these. We talk about these kickboxers coming in. They could have 300 fights. It doesn't matter. It's an MMA fight. If you don't have that other background on the ground, and these guys in the top 5 do, you're screwed.
You drown, man. Yeah, you really do. You are screwed. But super, super happy for Calvin, as it just proves as well how good his coaches are for saying take the time off. You don't need to fight.
They're great.
Yeah, really good camp behind him.
Yeah, that's Tyson. His boy Rob Font is always with them. They're so close knit. It's such a small group that they can, like Trevor Whitman focuses on just like 3 primary fighters.
Yes,
I think that makes a big difference when they're not so spread out and they can really focus in. It's more of like a quality over quantity type of thing.
Mm-hmm. No, it's surely paid. But who do you think is next for Calvin then?
I think it's so hard to say. So it's Yair, Ortega, and I think Josh Emmett. All those guys you kind of throw into the mix. And I don't know if Calvin goes down to fight. I mean, Josh Emmett's at 6, Calvin's at 5, but I feel like Calvin at this point deserves the Ortega or the Yair at 2 and 3. In my opinion, I think either of those guys would be great. I think I would rather him fight Yair.
Yeah.
Ortega's looking real good these days, stand up and on the ground. So I would love to see Yair Calvin. I think that would be phenomenal.
See, yeah, I put Ortega and Yair in the same bracket right now of how much they bring to. If you beat Ortega, you get a title shot. You beat Yair, you probably get the title shot at this stage. So I think if Emmett gets one and Calvin gets one, I would love that. Or if they fight each other, it kind of nullifies that and you don't get an extra person into the mix at the top. So I kind of want one of them to get pushed up. So no, Ortega versus Calvin, or that'd be amazing. I mean, I know who I'm betting. Can you see Calvin beat her in either of those though? After how good like Yair looked against Max and how good, I know Ortega got beaten for 4 rounds against Volkanovski, but he put him in 2 fatal positions if he didn't let go. Essentially, so he didn't get pushed off. So
that's what scares me. I think Ortega by far scares me more. I think Calvin standing up with anyone, you give it, except Max, of course. You give him not an advantage, but he can hang with anyone. So I think Yair, he's tricky though. He's very creative with his striking. We saw that with the Holloway fight. Yeah, that would be scary, but I would much rather him face Yair, and I think he would have I think he'd come in as an underdog in that fight, but it would be close. It'd be very close.
Who would you favor?
Well, now I've put my public apology out there. I'm from Massachusetts. Freaking Calvin Kattar is like down the street from me. He lives literally 10 minutes from my house.
You feel really bad picking against him that day.
I literally made a note on my phone and posted it, and I was like, I'm sorry. Tyson actually responded. He was like, respect, like we all make mistakes. So I hope they'll have me back. But I will never bet against Calvin Kattar again. I will never pick against Calvin Kattar again. I don't care. I have to just pick him.
Absolutely. If you put Volkanovski versus Arnold Allen right now, I'm picking Arnold Allen. You got to back him. No matter the odds. No matter the odds, right? You got to back him. So, but and
he's got a fight coming up, right?
It hasn't been officially confirmed yet. I'm waiting to hear, and I hope Arnold will message me back on that one. But it's looking like UFC London is going to be March 19th, day after Cage Warriors 134, Vucenic Hughes 2, and it looks like the main event is probably going to be Arnold Allen versus Dan Hooker at the moment.
That's right.
Hooker coming down in weight even more. Oh mate, he's going to kill himself getting to this weight. I don't like it.
He's a big guy,
and he's got to fly from New Zealand to the UK.
And we saw that already affected him. I believe
Arnold's going to finish him, mate. Arnold will finish him. If
that's tough for Dan Hooker. You know what stinks about this division? Korean Zombie's going in there next. Then we have to wait for Max because he's automatically getting the next shot. The trilogy fight likely will happen given that Volk.
What about if Zombie somehow wins?
Right. And then I can't.
Nothing would please me more right now than Korean Zombie throwing a complete spanner and beating Volkanovski.
And then what? Does they have to run the rematch?
Max v Zombie.
You do Max v Zombie, Max beats Zombie, then you do Volk Max.
There you go. Then you do Arnold Allen v Zombie.
Yeah, but where's Calvin coming to this? Where's Yair, Ortega? Like, this is going to be such a backed up division.
It's a great division, man. It's a great division.
And Emmett too. And
yeah, man.
Giga's still there.
He's there, but he's not.
Yeah, you're out.
The amount of people that are off his train all of a sudden, and I'm like, we should never have been on it. It's just people get so starstruck by like a guy who barely speaks and looks like Leon the Professional for a day.
Dude, and I think you nailed it too. But what we saw was Max Holloway beat the shit out of Calvin Kattar. We didn't hear from Calvin Kattar for a year. Meanwhile, Giga is building his hype up throughout all of 2021. So that's why the odds, I think, came in so heavy on him, is because we're talking about Giga. We're seeing it. Meanwhile, how is Calvin going to come back after the Max fight? Is he going to be the same? We had that whole thing. Yeah, he was fine. Yeah. He's better.
More than fine when he looked great. Yeah, I mean, Aaron, I agree with Aaron completely with Dan Hooker. He needs to take a year off and not lose another 10 pounds. Yeah, he's massive for 155, in my opinion. He's a lanky dude. And then cut into 145 again. It's like, you don't need to do that. Like, you are good. He's a UFC caliber fighter. He's just losing to arguably the greatest of the generations right now. Like, Islam Makhachev subbing him. Don't be so sour about that. I mean, Michael Chandler, if they could run that back a few times and have a 5-5 kind of, if they fought 10 times, 5 for each, definitely. I think that's the standard of the fight he is, though. He's not a champion. He's a top 10 lightweight.
And I think that was proven pretty heavily in his fight with Nasrat, because Nasrat's a guy everyone's talking about. He's coming in as a big favorite to a lot of these guys, building his name up. Yeah. And Hooker beat him pretty easily.
Pretty simply, yeah.
It's pretty simple. So he obviously holds value in the division. The Islam fight, he probably shouldn't have done that.
No.
Probably shouldn't have done that. Bad idea.
Striker v grappler. No. No, not like that. But that was the UFC 46 in totality. All the rest of the fights I haven't mentioned, but for a reason. It's But next week's going to be crazy. Next Monday's review show, I hope we have UFC 270, which is anyone but me picking Francis. There's a lot on my feed, Aaron. There is a lot of people picking Francis to win. I think it's 60-40 Francis on my feed. 28 people have voted. I had, and it was 60% with Francis. He's an underdog. He is currently, I believe, plus 135. You can get gone like minus 170, which is crazy because I think that was like the same odds with Francis and Stipe in the last fight. Imagine doing what Francis has done and not being a favorite. Could you?
It's just it's very disrespectful, for being honest.
I think, yeah, most people just think, can Ngannou survive can anyone survive a shot from Ngannou? And I was thinking, yeah, Stipe did the first time. This new improved Ngannou is a different matter. But
exactly.
But who's a better striker, Ngannou or Stipe? A straight, it's that kind of. I think Ngannou is the real deal.
I do too. I believe it. I actually just made my video earlier this morning, and that was a big thing I touched upon. I was like, well, the Stipe fight, the first Stipe fight, he was out wrestled, he was out hustled. But in the second one, when he shut down the takedowns, and I think he landed a takedown of his own, you're like, holy shit. Not only is he going to land the one-shot kill, but he's defending takedowns. Maybe he'll even take you down. Is his cardio better?
Yeah.
Holy shit. That's a problem right there.
Yeah. So next week's review show is going to be pretty mental. We got that Brandon Moreno's on it, Figueiredo 3 rather. I always say 2 because only one of them's actually got a win. It was a draw the other fight.
True.
So, but yeah, it's going to be a mental card. I love it to bits. But we'll talk about that next week. Otherwise, we won't have a show.
That's a good point. Well, actually, rumors Francis might not be fighting. We'll see.
I'm not fighting for $500,000 anymore. Oh, poor you.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that 1 minute in the cage is a real bust, isn't it?
Yeah, 500 grand for 1 minute.
Yeah,
that's a rich man.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go with the under. I think. Yeah, I mean Francis as an underdog is a really good bet. To be fair, we know he can go 5 rounds. So, but yeah, that'll do it for UFC Vegas 46 live review. Appreciate it, Steve, for coming on, man.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Cool. And we'll see everyone for the review next week. Check out the channel. We've got the Francis Ngannou and Cyril Gane breakdown on there. We've got a load of breakdowns. Brandon Moreno on there. Derek Lewis. Izzy versus Whitaker 2 is out tomorrow. Check that out. So, peace, guys. See you later.